200 guests filled the hall, laughing under crystal lights, holding drinks with my name printed on the labels. It was my birthday, planned for weeks, paid for by my savings, and meant to be the one night my family could not control the story of my life. I was wrong. As I stood near the stage, watching relatives I barely spoke to take selfies, I felt a strange tension in the room. My mother kept whispering to my aunt. My brother avoided my eyes. My father smiled too hard, the kind of smile people wear when they are about to do something unforgivable. This was not a party. It was a setup. I had spent years being the quiet one, the fixer, the daughter who swallowed disrespect to keep peace. I told myself tonight would be different. Tonight I would be celebrated. Tonight I would matter. Then the microphone changed hands. My cousin tapped the glass for attention. The room went silent. I felt my stomach tighten as faces turned toward the stage. What followed was not a toast. It was a performance. A carefully rehearsed humiliation disguised as humor. Stories twisted. Private failures exaggerated. Lies dressed up as jokes. Each sentence landed like a slap, and every laugh from the crowd felt louder than the last. I searched my family's faces, waiting for someone to stop it. No one did. Some smiled. Some nodded. A few even clapped. In that moment, I realized this was never about a birthday. This was about control. About reminding me where they believed I belonged. I felt my face burn, but I did not cry. I did not interrupt. I stood still and let them finish. Because while they were busy tearing me down in front of 200 guests, something inside me hardened. They thought they had broken me publicly. What they did not know was that they had just given me the perfect reason to stop protecting them. And the night was not over yet. I walked off the stage to polite applause that felt like mockery. The music restarted, louder than before, as if noise could erase what had just happened. Guests returned to their drinks, pretending nothing was wrong. My family spread out, confident the damage was done and the night belonged to them again. I locked myself in the restroom and stared at my reflection. My hands were steady. That scared me more than tears would have. Something had shifted. I was done being embarrassed. Done being managed. Done being the family secret everyone felt entitled to rewrite. While they laughed outside, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through months of saved messages, emails, screenshots, and documents. Things I had kept for my own sanity. Proof of how decisions were made behind closed doors. Proof of who benefited from my silence. Proof of who pushed me forward when blame was needed and dragged me back when credit appeared. I had never planned revenge. I had planned survival. I remembered the last family meeting where they convinced me to take responsibility for a financial mess I did not create. The quiet pressure. The fake concern. The promises to make it right later. Later never came. What came instead were rumors, judgment, and tonight's public execution. I wiped my face, adjusted my dress, and walked back into the hall. My mother saw me and frowned, clearly disappointed that I had not collapsed. My brother looked away again. My father raised his glass as if nothing had happened. That was when I noticed the event coordinator near the sound booth. A detail I had overlooked earlier. I had paid for full control of the program. Every screen. Every microphone. Every minute. An idea formed, sharp and dangerous. I did not rush. I spoke to guests who had seen enough. I smiled at people who sensed something was wrong. I made sure the room was full again. Curiosity is powerful when mixed with discomfort. Then I walked toward the coordinator and quietly asked for 5 minutes near the end of the night. I showed proof of payment. I showed confidence. He nodded. Behind me, my family relaxed, thinking the worst was over. They had no idea the real celebration was about to begin. The room slowly filled again, the way water creeps back after a storm. Laughter returned, but it was thinner now, forced in places. People kept glancing at me, unsure whether to avoid my eyes or watch closely. That uncertainty worked in my favor. Suspense does not need noise. It needs anticipation. I stayed calm, almost invisible, while my family reclaimed the spotlight. My brother clinked his glass and joked about family traditions. My mother laughed too loudly. My father shook hands like a man who believed the night was already written. They thought humiliation had finished me. They thought silence meant defeat. I checked my phone one last time. Everything was ready. Files backed up. Videos queued. Emails sorted by date. Names clearly labeled. Nothing emotional. Just facts. Clean and undeniable. The screen behind the stage displayed a looping birthday slideshow again. Smiling photos. Childhood memories. A perfect cover. I watched my mother relax when she saw it. Familiar images make people careless. I moved closer to the stage and felt the weight of the room shift. Some guests noticed. Whispers started. Someone asked if there was another speech planned. No one answered. My aunt leaned toward my mother, curiosity sharpening her voice. My mother shrugged, annoyed but unconcerned. She still believed she controlled the narrative. The coordinator caught my eye and gave a small nod. At that moment, I remembered every warning I had ignored. Every time I was told to keep peace. Every time I was advised to let things go for the family name. Peace had cost me years. Silence had nearly erased me. The music softened. The lights dimmed slightly. Conversations slowed as people sensed something was about to happen. My heartbeat stayed steady. That terrified me and thrilled me at the same time. I stepped onto the stage again, not invited this time. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My brother stiffened. My father half stood, confused. My mother's smile froze, then cracked. I did not speak yet. Behind me, the slideshow flickered. The first image disappeared. And the screen went black. For a split second, the entire room held its breath, not knowing that what was about to appear would change how they saw my family forever. The black screen lingered just long enough to make people uneasy. A few guests shifted in their seats. Someone near the back laughed nervously, assuming it was a technical issue. My family still believed that too. They trusted accidents more than intention. Then the screen lit up. Not with photos. Not with music. With dates. A timeline appeared, clean and simple, stretching across the screen. At first it looked harmless. Then names followed. Amounts. Transfers. Decisions made in meetings I was never allowed to attend, yet somehow always blamed for afterward. A murmur spread through the room like electricity finding metal. My father stared up at the screen, his confident posture slowly collapsing. My brother's face drained of color as recognition set in. My mother took a step forward, shaking her head, already preparing to interrupt, to explain, to control. I raised my hand. The microphone was live now. The room went silent. I spoke calmly, explaining nothing emotional, only facts. How I was asked to sign documents I did not benefit from. How my name was attached to choices that protected others. How silence was sold to me as loyalty. How blame was presented as responsibility. The screen changed again. Emails appeared. Highlighted lines. Polite language masking pressure. Promises of future support that never arrived. Every message timestamped. Every sender unmistakable. Guests leaned forward. Phones came out. People recorded, not because they loved drama, but because truth unfolding in real time feels historic. My mother finally rushed toward the stage, whispering my name in panic. The coordinator blocked her gently. Rules mattered now. She had taught me that lesson years ago. Another slide appeared. This one showed a short video clip. My brother's voice, confident and careless, explaining how everything would fall on me and how I would take it like I always did. A sharp inhale cut through the room. I looked at him then. Really looked. He could not meet my eyes anymore. I did not raise my voice. I did not insult anyone. I let the evidence speak. That was the most brutal part. When the screen went dark again, the silence was deafening. This time, no one applauded. And my family finally understood that this was not a moment they could laugh off or erase later. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. No music. No clinking glasses. Just the sound of people breathing differently now that they knew they were sitting inside a lie. I felt every eye move between me and my family, searching for reactions, explanations, denial. None came. My mother stood frozen near the aisle, her hands trembling as if she could still grab control if she moved fast enough. My father remained seated, staring at the table like it might open and swallow him. My brother kept his head down, shoulders tight, finally realizing that confidence collapses when witnesses multiply. I let the pause work. Suspense lives in what people fear will happen next. Then the screen lit up again. This time, it was a recorded conversation. Not long. Just enough. My mother's voice, calm and calculated, discussing how my birthday was the perfect setting. How public embarrassment would force me into silence. How shame works better when shared. A few gasps escaped the crowd before anyone could stop them. I watched my mother listen to herself. I watched her recognize every word. The mask she had worn for years slipped completely. Not anger. Not tears. Fear. I stepped forward and spoke again, still measured, still controlled. I explained how this recording was never meant for the world. How I kept it only to remind myself that I was not imagining things. That I was not ungrateful or dramatic. Just targeted. People shifted in their seats. Friends who had defended my family earlier now avoided their gaze. The story was no longer about a birthday or a misunderstanding. It was about manipulation done with precision. The screen changed once more. This slide showed the consequences. Legal notices prepared but never sent. Financial reversals mapped clearly. Contracts that could be reopened. Names that could be contacted. I was not threatening. I was informing. My father finally stood up, his voice cracking as he tried to speak, but the room did not belong to him anymore. The truth had already taken its seat. I ended my part by thanking everyone for coming, for witnessing something I had carried alone for too long. I wished them a safe night and stepped back. But the story was not finished, because exposure was only the first cut. What followed would decide who survived the aftermath. The crowd did not rush out. That surprised my family more than anything else. People stayed, whispering in clusters, replaying what they had just seen. Some looked at me with sympathy, others with respect, a few with fear. Truth rearranges social order fast. I stepped off the stage and felt lighter, but not relieved. Relief comes after consequences, not before them. My aunt approached first, her voice low, asking if everything was real. I nodded once. She walked away without another word, already recalculating loyalties. Others followed. Friends of the family who had always treated me like a liability now avoided me completely, as if proximity itself carried risk. Behind me, chaos quietly bloomed. My father tried to gather people, to explain context, to soften facts. No one listened. Context is a luxury reserved for the innocent. My brother finally spoke, his voice rising in frustration, denying parts, blaming misunderstandings. That only made things worse. Every denial sounded rehearsed. My mother disappeared. That absence screamed louder than any apology ever could. I knew where she went. The private lounge near the back. The place where she always retreated when control slipped. I followed slowly, giving her time to feel cornered. She was on the phone when I entered, pacing, whispering urgently. She stopped when she saw me. For the first time in my life, she had nothing ready to say. I told her this was not revenge. Revenge is emotional. This was correction. I explained what would happen next. Audits reopened. Agreements reviewed. Stories corrected quietly and publicly. I would not scream. I would not beg. I would let systems do what they were designed to do once lies were removed. Her shoulders sagged. She finally understood that this was permanent. Outside, I heard raised voices. My father arguing with the coordinator. My brother snapping at guests who refused to engage. The family image was cracking in real time. I walked back into the hall and felt the shift again. People made space for me now. Not out of kindness. Out of acknowledgement. Then my phone buzzed. A message from someone unexpected. Someone powerful. Someone who had believed their version of events for years. It read 3 words. We need to talk. And that was when I realized the real fallout had only just begun. The message stayed on my screen longer than it should have. We need to talk. 3 simple words that carried years of buried damage behind them. This was someone my family had carefully influenced, someone whose opinion once defined my reputation far beyond our walls. If they were reaching out now, the shift was already happening. I did not reply immediately. Power grows in pauses. Around me, the party finally began to dissolve. Guests left in quiet waves, avoiding my family as if controversy were contagious. Laughter had vanished completely. What remained was exposure, raw and unforgiving. My father cornered me near the exit, his face drawn tight with urgency. He spoke quickly, trying to rebuild authority through concern. He said we could fix this privately, that families handle things internally, that I had gone too far. I listened. Then I reminded him calmly that internal handling was how this survived for years. His argument collapsed under its own weight. He stepped back, realizing persuasion no longer worked on me. My brother watched from a distance, rage barely contained. Not because he was innocent. Because he was exposed without preparation. People like him never fear truth until it arrives without warning. I finally replied to the message and agreed to meet the next morning. Neutral location. Public space. Transparency. As I left the venue, my phone vibrated again. This time from a former family friend. Then another. And another. Questions poured in. Not accusations. Questions. That distinction mattered. The narrative was flipping. By the time I reached my car, my mother's name appeared on the screen. She did not call. She sent a message instead. Short. Controlled. Asking me to reconsider what I was doing before permanent damage occurred. I stared at it, understanding something important. She was not worried about me. She was worried about what else I had. I drove home with the city lights blurring past, my mind sharp and quiet. Every document. Every recording. Every timeline. Still untouched. Still mine. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Because tomorrow, I would decide how much truth the world was ready to handle. And my family would finally learn what it felt like to wait in fear. Morning arrived calm, almost indifferent to what it was about to witness. I met them at a quiet cafe downtown, sunlight pouring through glass windows like nothing in the world was broken. The person across from me looked older than I remembered. Tired. Guilty. They did not waste time pretending anymore. They admitted everything my family had whispered into their ear over the years. How my mistakes were exaggerated. How my silence was interpreted as confirmation. How my mother had positioned herself as the protector while slowly burying me. Hearing it out loud felt strange, not painful. Closure does not always hurt. I slid a folder across the table. Not threats. Not emotions. Just documentation. Enough to correct records, reopen opportunities, and restore what had been taken from me quietly. They nodded, understanding the cost of ignoring truth any longer. By the afternoon, emails went out. Phone calls were made. Stories shifted. Not dramatically. Not publicly. Precisely. My family began feeling the consequences where it mattered most. Business partnerships paused. Invitations stopped. Doors closed without explanation. That evening, my father called. His voice was smaller now. He asked what it would take to make this stop. I told him nothing. Because this was not something I was doing anymore. This was something truth was doing on its own. My brother tried last. Anger stripped of confidence. He blamed me for destroying the family. I reminded him calmly that families do not collapse from honesty. They collapse from years of manipulation finally exposed. My mother never apologized. She sent one last message warning me that I would regret this. I smiled when I read it. Regret had lived with me for years. It had already moved out. Weeks later, my life looked different. Lighter. Cleaner. People who once doubted me now listened carefully. Opportunities returned without me chasing them. Respect followed naturally once fear was removed. I did not win by screaming. I did not win by begging. I won by letting everyone see exactly who they were protecting. And on the birthday they tried to destroy me, I finally gave myself the only gift that mattered. My name back. Tell me in the comments section that which part hit you the most. If this story resonated you, hit the subscribe button and share it with someone who is currently suffering with such circumstances. See you in the next one.